What's up, guys? It is Chris back for Watch Chris. Happy New Year. It's 2025 and I wanted to start off this year right with making a video about a watch that nobody is talking about. It's from a small independent Swiss watchmaker called Maran Musi. I recently purchased one of their watches off of eBay. There's a little bit of a story behind that and I'll tell that during the video. These are special watches that get some technology that no other brands can match. They're basically unknown here in the United States. The brand is called Maran Musi. I have one of their GMTs hands on to show you guys. So let's flip the camera and take a look at a relatively unknown brand, Maran Musi, and their GMT Sport. And here it is. This is the Maran Musi GMT Sport, a brand and a watch that you have probably never heard of. They don't advertise here in the United States. I'm not sure where they actually advertise or if they do, and that's the reason why no one has ever heard of this brand. However, they make some incredible watches. This watch has a lot of tricks up its sleeve, and I'm going to go through all of them because it's a really cool watch that no one's ever heard of. And I got this for a very good price on eBay for a specific reason, and I'll go through that reason in a few minutes. However, what they're famous for is their no-ring technology. So I don't like that name. I'm not sure why they came up with that name. They could have come up with something a little bit cooler, but that's what they call it. And all that means is there is no plastic sealing this case, and you get 300 meters of water resistance. You don't have a screwed-in crown, and you don't really get a screwed-in case back. The way it works is there is a multi-piece case. So it's around 26 pieces, I want to say, but if I'm wrong about that, I'll put it down in the description. But there are multiple pieces to the case, and it all snaps together and is held in by these screws right here on the lugs. That's it. And it's all held together by pressure. There is a spring within the case, and there is no plastic. So the seals are metal on metal, no plastic whatsoever. The crown, the same thing. There's no gaskets. There's no triple gasket like you get with a Rolex. There's nothing at all. It's just the metal on metal that gives you that water resistance. And you get that water resistance whether the crown is in or out. You could actually change the time underwater with this watch and you still have 300 meters of water resistance. You get to see the movement from the back. You get a sapphire crystal in the front and back, of course, especially at a watch at this price, that would make sense. They manufacture these cases. They manufacture the bezel. The bezel on this one is a 24-hour bezel. It's made out of ceramic. So it's a little bit different from their other watches. They make a time only that gets a grade 5 titanium bezel and case. This one is grade 5 titanium with the DLC coating, except you are getting that ceramic bezel. So there's a difference there. The dial here is also manufactured by Maran Musi. It's a grainy dial, and everything on the dial is part of the dial. So it's lasered away and they create a dial. It's a 3D dial that is created on one plate. There is lume on the indices. There's a plaque down at the bottom that says Swiss crafted. Right above that, GMT Sport. And all the way at the top at the 12 o'clock position or just below the 12 o'clock position is Maran Musi. The 12 o'clock is their logo. So that's the MM that you see at the 12 o'clock position. All of that is engraved into the dial. So it sits slightly higher than the rest of the dial. It looks like it's applied, but it actually isn't. It's part of the dial itself. So that brings me to the next part of what makes this watch a little bit special, that Swiss crafted plaque that you see on the dial right above that 6 o'clock position. Swiss crafted means that this watch is not only made in Switzerland, all of its components, every single one of the components are crafted within a certain mile radius of their office. I think it's like 60 miles, something like that. So the case, the sapphire crystal, the movement, everything here, the straps, the buckle, it's all made in Switzerland and none of it is made overseas. Of course, it is then assembled and regulated in Switzerland. That's including the movement. The movement inside this watch is a La Joux movement. It's a movement that is commonly used by Arnold & Son and a few other brands. It is a high-end movement that is really bespoke to this watch. And again, it gets a lot of bespoke finishing, so it doesn't look like anything from Arnold & Son. Arnold & Son, very traditional. This looks very modern, lots of laser engraving, and it just looks amazing. The movement on here is beautiful. It's a very large movement as well. You're getting 60 hours of power reserve, and it's very accurate at the same time. And because you're getting that large movement, you also get a very large date at the 3 o'clock position. That's because you have a very large date aperture. You get a very large date wheel. So they're able to put a very large date that's not a grand date. It's not a large date. It's just larger than your normal date. That also allows them to do another little trick. The indices that look like they are ovals, those are actually holes in the dial that allow you to see that date wheel underneath. So as the date changes, the indices change. So each index will look different every single day. It's a little bit weird, but when you look at it, you don't notice it immediately. Only when you're looking at it and you're actually looking to see it, you will notice it. It's a cool idea, and I think they executed it really well. Not only are you getting that really grainy dial, but you're also getting that chapter ring that has a 60-minute countdown on it, and you're getting that in the same color, that copper color, as the GMT hand, and of course those little plaques that you have on the dial. It looks fantastic. They did a great job with the color scheme here. I think they did a very, very good job. When you flip the watch over, you have a deploying clasp that is very nicely made. It's very bespoke to their brand. It's a double push button, and you open it up, you have a little bit of a scissor here. It's all DLC coded. You get to see the movement. And of course, on the case back, there's some information about the watch that is engraved into the grade 5 titanium case back. You actually can see where there are spaces in the case, and you could see the sapphire sandwich that they're using on this case, and it sits on metal. So very, very cool. There's no gaskets, again, not even between the sapphire crystal and the case itself. The straps are interchangeable. It is basically a spring bar release right here, and I'll do a picture of it so you can see what I'm talking about. When you're wearing it, the spring bar release will go into the case. There's actually a space between the case and the strap for it to hide while you're wearing the watch. It won't scratch your watch or bother your wrist. Really nicely made and really good idea. And when you put the watch on its side, you can see the case is kind of weird, very technical looking. That's because of the way it's made. You have a very big crown. It feels like a vault opening and closing when you pull the crown out and push the crown in. It's awesome. It feels amazing. And one thing that I love about this movement is the winding action. And I will flip it over again just to show you and let you hear how the winding action works on this automatic movement. So this is an automatic movement, and the wind on here is excellent. Very similar to what you get from Arnold & Son. Again, let's take a listen. It sounds really good. It feels really good. It feels like a hand-wound watch, even though it's an automatic. So you're getting the best of both worlds. It's an automatic watch that sounds like a hand-wound watch when you wind it. That's really cool. I have a few straps for this. So this is a blue strap. I have a red strap and a rubber strap that came with this. Measurements on this. This comes in at around 43 millimeters. They say 44 millimeters on their website, but if you measure it, it really is about a 43 millimeter watch, and it wears like a 43 millimeter watch, not a 44 or a 45. It wears a lot smaller. You have a lug to lug of 51 millimeters, but the lugs are short. So it does wear smaller than its dimensions. And then you have a pretty thick watch of around 14.5 millimeters. But again, you're getting that GMT, and it's a 300 meter water resistant watch. You have a large crown at almost 8.1 millimeters, which is very, very large. And I think it looks great on this watch. On my wrist today, I have my Formex Reef in green. I wore this watch because they kind of remind me of a smaller version of Maran Musi. Now, I would imagine that Formex are larger than Maran Musi because They definitely have more market share. More people have Formex on their wrist than Maran Musi. But I say that in a way that they make very technical watches. Their watches have pretty cool tricks up their sleeve, like the adjustment in the clasp on this watch, or the Essence, which has, of course, the suspension system. There's a couple of other things that they do that a lot of other brands don't do, even major brands. And they, of course, are a manufacturer first. So they manufacture their watches to the umpth degree, and you get a great watch because of that. And there is the Maran Musi on my 7.5-inch wrist. Yes, it looks on the larger side, but it doesn't wear large. It wears like a 43 millimeter in my opinion. And you can see it's thick, 14.5 millimeters thick, 43 millimeters at the case. It's around 41.5 millimeters at the bezel. And then you have a 51 millimeter lug to lug. That's from these cutoff lugs right here. You have a beautiful line of polish that goes across the case. It's brushed on the sides. Everything about this watch I love. I have always loved the look of this watch. I don't think it's for everyone. Now, I do want to mention that I was at one point a representative, the US representative for this brand, and I was their representative for about a year, and we sold 0 watches while I was the representative here in the United States. Not because I didn't try, just because there was no advertising that was going on for the brand, and no one really reached out to me from the website to come and show them the watch. Only a few times I showed a few different people the watch. I brought them to events. No one had ever heard of them. They lent me a watch. I wore it for about a year, and then I had to return it. I never made any money from them. There was no support. They never gave me anything. And unfortunately, at some point, they just said, okay, well, we're just not going to do this anymore. Send back the watch. And that was it. At that point, I tried to buy a watch from them, but I really couldn't afford it. And at some point, I set up a reminder on eBay just to see if these ever hit eBay. And ironically, 2 hit at once. This and then a time only. I ended up making an offer on this watch, and it sold for an incredible price of $3,500. I was blown away. They had it listed for $7,500. I lowballed them for one reason, and I'm going to show you that reason right now. When I move this watch around, you're going to see that hour hand is skeletonized. However, the minute hand is not. And the seller was unaware that this watch did not have the original minutes hand. It doesn't. It does have an original Maran Musi hand, but this is a non-loomed hand. This one is loomed. So when you put a UV light on here, you're going to see that the minute hand is unloomed. So that's the reason why I got such a good price for this watch. Originally, it was selling for $7,000, and they really weren't looking to take anything below $7,000, but I made an offer and they accepted it at $3,500 when I told them what was wrong with their watch. And I don't think anybody else would have known that unless they worked for the brand. Ironically, I did. So here we are, and now I own one for $3,500. I do want to say it did go through the authentication process at eBay, and it passed even though it had the wrong hand. So I was able to identify that, but eBay wasn't. I'm not sure that they actually check for this sort of flaw on a watch, but the watch is brand new. I contacted my contact over at Maran Musi. I told them that I'm getting this watch and that the hand was different from the original hand, and they had no idea why that would be. Someone must have opened it and tampered with it, and there you go. But I'm pretty sure that they did a good job because the watch looks and feels brand new, and it keeps perfect time. Everything here is authentic, so I am 100% okay with it having this little flaw. Even though it's still a Maran Musi part, it's just the wrong hand. Not a big deal to me. I love this watch, and I am so excited to own it. This would probably be up there in my most worn watches of 2024 because I have not taken it off my wrist since I got it. The only other watch that I've been wearing is the watch that my sons bought me for Christmas. But other than that, this has been on my wrist almost non-stop. So price on this normally would be around $18,000. They make a time only that's around $14,000. So they are expensive, but you are getting a ton of watch for that money. I don't know if people really buy them at these prices because they are relatively unknown here in the United States. If they were better known, I guarantee you people would be jumping on these watches. but no one knows about them. No one knows about the Swiss craftsmanship. No one knows about the no-ring technology. Also, some people have a problem with the name Maron Musi here in the United States because moron sounds like moron a little bit, well, a lot. And that's one of the other problems here in the United States. And I hear that pretty often. Even when I show my friends this watch, or showed my friends this watch at a recent event that I threw for Gotham Watch Club, and immediately people were like, that's an awesome watch. And I told them the name and they're like, oh, that's a weird name. So that's the case, unfortunately, for the brand. Now, let me show you the lume and then we will wrap up this video. Again, there is no lume on that minute's hand, but there is lume on the primary indices, so let's take a look. And there you go. It would be perfect if there was a little bit of lume on that minute's hand. Unfortunately, there is not. There's just a little bit of lume on that hour hand, no lume on the minute's hand. Usually it would be about the same amount of lume, and then you have lume on that GMT hand. All of the indices are lumed. Even those little ovals that are hollowed out, that gets lume as well. Looks great in the dark. Unfortunately, like I said, because of that minute's hand, not everything is lume. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of this brand? What do you think of this watch? And what do you think of the deal that I got? Did I do the right thing? Should I have not bought this watch? Tell me down in the comment section below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. Happy New Year, and I will catch you guys in the next video.